Hello, welcome to Gallery. And as usual, the two team leaders are Maggie Hamling, the distinguished painter, and Frank Whitford, lecturer in the history of art at the Royal College of Art. On Maggie's team, we have Joanna Banham, curator of Leighton House, London. She's written books on Walter Crane, William Morris, and 19th century wallpapers. And Paul Bailey, writer and broadcaster, made his name with At the Jerusalem and An English Madam, a profile of Cynthia Payne. His latest book, and very good it is too, because I've read it, is called Gabriel's Lament. On Frank's team, we have Anatole Orient, one half of the Michelson and Orient Gallery, who exhibit 20th century ceramics in the Portobello Road, and also Nicholas Treadwell, champion of superhumanism, owner of Treadwell's Art Mill in Bradford, which has been described, on Nicholas's own admission, as one of the most successful and hated galleries in the world. Now we're going to start with Frank's team, and we're going to show you a detail of a picture, and if you can guess the artist, and if you can guess the title of the picture, you will get 10 points each. Let's look at this detail.
This is a stinker.
You haven't an idea.
I haven't the vaguest clue.
None of you have. So I'm going to pass
no.
it over to Maggie's team. Say, speak.
Cranach.
Cranach? No.
Looks good.
It isn't. We're going to open it out and then hear Frank say, of course.
Yeah, well, as I said, it looks good. Heavens, yes, it's a Raphael, isn't it?
Yes, that's 5 points, only 5 for seeing when you see the whole picture.
And it's the Holy Family.
Yes, that's not complete as a title.
Well, it's obviously not Holy Family and Palm Tree, George, is it?
Well, it is, but you're too late, you see.
Holy Family and Palm Tree, is
yes.
that really? Good
yes.
Lord.
Let's have a look at it and see what we think of it. I think we'll start off with Nick Treadwell. I don't know whether you would call it a superhuman picture, but it's a picture. What do you think of Raphael and this picture particularly?
Well, I mean, there's so many pictures of the Holy Family, I tend not really to look at them so much. It seems impressive, but I can't really say much about it. I mean, I wouldn't spend a lot of time looking at it.
I think I'd assign a few more minutes than probably Nicholas would do. It's not a picture I'm familiar with at all, but I think it's a very lovely one. I'm surprised by the palm tree, actually. It's a slightly unusual feature, I think, in this sort of painting, but it's a very attractive domestic sort of Raphael.
Yes, I agree, and very real, and it's not just because of the palm tree. I think it's a very real woman, and a very real man, and a very real child, and I feel I'm present at this moment between the three of them and the palm tree. I think it's very beautiful.
But the baby's got this kind of fey look, like one of the children of the damned, that's a little worrying to me. It doesn't strike me as being all that nice and domestic, because it also felt like she was offering to give it away.
Give what away? Oh, the child.
The baby. The baby, absolutely.
Yes, well, the baby.
I wouldn't blame her.
Paul, you've not yet spoken.
Well, it's a lovely painting, and it's very intimate, and the child is looking wonderfully quizzical. And I like it because there's nothing monumental about it. I mean, so many pictures of the Holy Family have this sort of terrible monumental feeling about it, as if you're immediately supposed to go down on your knees. But here we have three recognizable people.
Yes. All right, well, let's look at that. Maggie's team has none, and Frank's team has 5. And now they're going to see a detail, and if they get the detail, of course, 10, and if they get the title, another 10. Let's have a look at it.
Daumier.
No. Daumier, no.
I'm going to try some deduction. After your introduction, you said that Joanna had written a book about Walter Crane.
I did, yes.
Now, I suspect, without knowing very much about Walter Crane, that this is a Walter Crane.
Well, your serendipity, I must say...
No, deduction, George. There's a difference.
Deduction plus serendipity. Let's pull it out. Can you get the title?
No, I can't.
No, I doubt you can. It's called Death and Commerce.
Oh.
And it brings out a fact that people sometimes forget about a lot of these late 19th century people, that they were very socialists, full of conviction. And this is a cartoon rather in the spirit of sort of cartoons in revolutionary Russia during the Stalin period in a funny way. Capitalism is clearly represented, and death seated behind him, and under the hooves of the horse the skulls of the poor workers. But we would look at a more familiar sort of crane. We have it on tap there.
Beauty and the Beast, I suppose.
Yes, I suppose so. There it is. And that's rather well. You'd have got that one, for instance.
Yes.
Yes, of course you would.
A much more familiar image. I think the point should be made that there are so many strains in Victorian art that it was only a fairly select group who actually turned their attention directly to politics. Morris and Crane, I think, being exceptional in that sphere. I mean, Crane is often called the artist of the socialist movement.
And clearly, at the time, it was meant to be a very sort of, it was meant to get people by the jugular. And of course, it's got great social relevance now, that title.
Yes.
But you'd have to look at it a long time now to realise, that that's what it was getting at.
Maggie, what do you think of it as drawing, as art, disregarding its connections with socialism?
As my first idea was Daumier, which as usual was wrong, I'm rather convinced by the quality of it.
Nicholas, you have remained totally silent on the subject. It's not a tit in sight, you see. What do you think of it?
Is that superhuman?
Well, there's some exaggerated expression, which, I mean, I like that, and I think it's very, it really does. It would communicate to the people. I love things with skulls in it, that's really... And I love things about death, because death is a really exciting subject, and it's everybody, it's close to everybody's heart.
I see you've become very lit up.
Yes, well,
all right, OK, let's look at the score. Maggie's team 0-0, Frank's 15. But the next picture indeed is for Frank's team. Let's look at the detail.
This looks like a detail from the Book of Kells, doesn't it? But would they give us something like that? Shall we try that? I mean, let's go straight in and say the Book of Kells.
Sure.
Well, let's go straight out again. You're very much on the right track, but it is not the Book of Kells over here.
It's a book.
That is perfectly true. Come along. You have to be quick. No, you can't. OK, we'll move back and we'll move out. But for once, I think moving out won't make much difference.
Won't make any difference. But it must be Celtic, mustn't it?
It's in fact the Lindisfarne Gospel.
Oh, of course, the other one.
The other one, I said the other one. I thought the only two people knew was the Book of Kells and Lindisfarne Gospel. There's this one. And it's written and illuminated by a gentleman called Ede Frio. Would I ask, say, Maggie, where she places such work in relation to art, such as we usually discuss it on this programme?
Well, this seems to me to be a very beautiful work of art. I have no problem with it at all.
Do you like the sort of thing, Paul?
Yes, very much. I think it's ravishing, very beautiful. Wonderful colours.
Is anybody able to say anything else except it's very beautiful and it's wonderful colours and it's a work of
very
art?
limited interest.
You think?
Fine. Well, the illuminated manuscripts I've seen in museums have been fabulous to look at, but not for all that long, finally. I feel like I'm looking at Joe's lights at the Fillmore in San Francisco eventually, that I'm just supposed to stare and it doesn't give a lot back after a relatively short amount of time for me.
Now, we're going on to the next question, having looked at the scores, which remain unchanged. Now we're going to Maggie's team here, and we're going to look at a detail. 10 points for the artist, which I suspect you may get, but probably none for the title.
Oh,
Gilbert and George.
That it only counts as 10, not 20, as you might think there being two of them. Do you know what it's called?
Anything
It's
goes.
one of the big photo pieces.
Anything Goes would be a great title for it, but it isn't right.
is it one of those titles that's actually unrepeatable on a family show?
Absolutely not. Should we pull back and see if Maggie's team can read?
Jungle.
My God, what visual memories you have got. Jungle is the answer. You get another 5 points, which makes them equal, which is rather good. Now, is the superhumanist, for instance, prepared to leap to what I suspect will be a fairly bumpy ride for Gilbert and George?
Well, I mean, I always find their work very flat, you know, and it's that flat photographic look. I never, even though the exciting subject matter that they put into all their work, I never respond to it in the way that, you know, that one should do, considering what the subject is.
What is the subject? I think there are millions out there who want to know what the subject is.
It's like a guy.
Here the subject is pretty mild, isn't it?
I don't care for this picture, but I generally enjoy looking at their things, but again, not for too long.
I see. I really did enjoy their early work. The living sculpture I thought was terrific fun. Gilbert and George, dressed in very sort of cheap, rather old-fashioned, mass-produced suits with gold faces and white gloves, stood on a platform and played a record on the gramophone of Underneath the Arches, for instance, and they moved like automata. They would do it all day. They did it in the gallery in Glebe Place, and they would do it whether there was anybody there or not for 8 hours. And I was so fascinated, I used to sneak up the stairs, creep up the stairs and look in, and they were indeed doing it to an empty gallery. They were obsessive.
A journalist friend of mine told me how they, early on, before
Yes.
he even did the living sculptures, he called on them, I can't remember where they were living at the time, and they actually had tea, and from the moment they met the journalist at the door, and from having tea, they spoke in unison before they delivered him back to the door again.
Yes. I also heard that one of them was once coshed, taken to hospital, unconscious, laid on the bed. The other came in and sat, equally unconscious, I mean conscious, but equally still, like a frozen statue of a visitor, until the other one recovered and they left together, hour after hour.
Is it all an act? You see, I don't know. I mean, it's terrifically successful, that kind of thing,
Yeah,
because you're forced to ask yourself, well, what are they like in the evenings?
Who knows?
George, don't you
Yes.
think they even come over as rather dull people, as well as all the things that you've said?
Yes.
Their image to me is of two very dull people. A case of there is less in this than meets the eye.
Yes, let's meet exactly so. Anyway, we'll leave Gilbert and George. We'll look at the score. 15 each. But we're going to a picture now for Frank's team.
Oh, dear. I don't
And
know
don't just say it's a horse.
Oh, no. Well, that's obviously what it is, and it's not really.
Dutch.
No. Do you think it's Dutch? I mean,
Stubbs.
yes. I was going to say
Stubbs.
that.
All right, well, you get 10 points for saying Stubbs. Now, do you know what title of it is?
Do we know what?
Probably not. Anyone over there know?
Mares and Folds?
No, it isn't. There is but one horse, as you'll see when we pull out and hand it back to Frank.
Person that counts.
Yes. Well,
Who is it?
I think we're none the wiser.
Nobody knows.
Is it? It's not one of the Wedgwoods. I know he worked for the Wedgwoods.
Well, it's interesting to say that. It's not one of the Wedgwoods.
But is it painted on porcelain? I'm sorry,
Ryan,
George.
you don't get anything for that, and you've had a chance anyway.
Yes.
It's a self-portrait on a white horse, Hunter, and it's enamelled on a Wedgwood plaque, you see.
yeah,
So that was,
yeah.
you almost redeemed yourself as a Noel there.
Thank you
bringing
very
in the
much.
Wedgwood
Yeah.
plaque. And there it is, and there is a Stubbs, and there is him, very down to earth, but I think one of the most poetic, extraordinary painters of fairly banal subjects we've ever had in this country. Maggie.
I don't understand how you can be calling the horse a banal subject. I mean, an animal, almost any animal, of course, is extremely beautiful, but the horse is one of them. I mean, how you could call a subject banal, which is a subject of
Well,
such
yes,
beauty.
let me rephrase that. A gentleman sitting on a horse thus, as opposed to horses being set on by lions, which Stubbs also painted, or Jericho and people like that. This is a horse in a fairly pedestrian situation with a rather plump English gentleman of the time sitting on its back. And yet, I feel, it's a most poetic picture.
A magical picture. I mean, Stubbs is a very, very, very great painter.
You can see why he chose that horse. It really has a great face.
Yeah.
A great head.
I think he obviously had an enormous sympathy with animals in general and horses in particular. I have to say that, like you, I very much prefer the animals without people in the pictures, the horses with lions, and the more romantic and more wild and the animals in movement, I think, are much more exciting. I mean, he knew the animal literally inside out, and so that comes through in the pictures as well.
And I think part of this magic and poetry we're talking about comes from his consummate respect for his subject. And so it is a case of the subject being in charge of the artist, which is a fundamentally important factor.
Yes, one has to remember another thing about Stubbs is that he went behind the surface of the animal.
Yes, it's the
He
knowledge.
actually
Yeah.
painted a horse, gradually dissecting it from the skin right until it was a skeleton, much to the disgust of his neighbours, I may say, because the pong was considerable.
And I think that he's not just wonderful with horses, he's just as good with people and with other animals.
Yes.
And I suppose one of the most marvellous things about him, being an English painter, is that as a race we sentimentalise animals, particularly in painting.
Yes. Well, I think we'll leave Stubbs there in his remarkable uniqueness. 15, Maggie's team, 25, Frank's. Right, well, now we're going to lose you, the viewers. You're going off for a little tour round a gallery. This week's gallery is Leighton House in London. Within yards of the roar of Kensington High Street, you enter the serenity of an Arabian palace, with marble halls and Turkish tiles, statuary in the garden and a soothing fountain. Alhambra in London. Extraordinary. In a country given to follies, this is one of the most exotic. Situated in an area once beloved by Victorian artists, this was the home of the highest of them all, Frederick Lord Leighton, 1830 to 1896, President of the Royal Academy, and the first and only artist to be ennobled with a peerage. He lived in cluttered chaos, surrounded with paintings by his friends and himself. None of this remains, for all was sold on his death to pay for his endowment to the students of the Academy. Now, under the management of the Borough of Kensington, care has been taken to restore the atmosphere and acquire paintings by Leighton's contemporaries to enhance his former home in the correct period style. Leighton himself is back in fashion, and such works as Perseus and Andromeda, once considered ludicrous with its bare-breasted woman in the grip of a serpent, as Perseus rides to the rescue in the sky, now attract increasing admiration. But one painting in Leighton House stands out especially. Elisha raising the son of the Shunammite, our picture of the week. Well, welcome back, and now we're going to show Maggie's team a detail of a picture you've just seen. The usual rules apply, and they'll get a further bonus of 10 points if they know what museum or gallery it is. But let's look at the detail first.
Leighton.
Ah,
I think it has to be.
Well?
OK, there's a thought for Titian and a thought for Leighton.
Which one do you prefer?
I will go for Leighton.
You're absolutely right. Of course, one has to say that as the lady sitting on your right, my left, is the lady who looks after the Leighton House collection. It's pretty brilliant of her. Do you know the title?
We might just possibly have a go at the title.
The Syracuse and Bride.
No. Oh. It's not that. Have you got the title?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, not being, I think, any of us a Leighton expert,
Yes,
I don't think we
but
have
I
the
don't recognise
faintest
it. All right.
idea. It
Well-
wouldn't be in Leighton. Oh,
No, I'm
It is.
afraid not, Frank.
Oh, I see.
Our turn.
Now, we're going to pull back here, and we're going to pull back the picture, and then I dare say that by some extraordinary coincidence you might get it right.
It's Elisha raising the body of the dead Shunammite,
That's absolutely correct.
and it's in Leighton House.
It is, yes, so you see it daily.
I do. I have to pass it on the stairs daily, which is why I didn't recognise it immediately.
I see, on the stairs, yes. Dark stairs?
Dark stairs.
I see. However, here we have a picture by Lord Leighton, not a very typical one, I may say.
I think he's a painter with some virtues, and certainly at the time he was one of the most famous painters in Europe. Indeed, not only the country, and had an enormous public and earned enormous quantities of cash too.
What do you think of this particular painting?
I think this is quite an untypical painting. It's a religious
that.
subject to begin
Yes.
with, and obviously his favourite subject matter were episodes from the classics, predominantly from Greek history.
Should we look at a more typical one? There.
Yes.
That's the sort of Leighton people
Perseus and
think
Andromeda.
about,
Yes.
I think, isn't it?
It is, yes.
Now, of course, what's interesting about this picture, and indeed many of the paintings of this period by painters of this sort, is that they are paintings which one could say were arousing, at least for the Victorians, arousing, and yet which, because they show classical subject matter mythology, were permissible. Let's look at another painter of this kind. Let's look at Albert Hadamar. Yes. Now this, incidentally, if you're wondering, the object that she is holding in her hand is called a strigil.
It's a scraper, isn't it, instead of soap?
It's for scraping off a sort of mixture of dust and grease.
Because she's in the tepidarium, isn't she? Isn't that what it's called?
She's in the tepidarium, yes. You seem to know rather more about it than I would have thought.
This picture did actually arouse a certain amount of outrage when it was exhibited at the Academy. I think precisely because it doesn't have the classical mythology to go with it that Leighton's did. It was considered quite shocking.
Was it?
Yes, because obviously it's a classical pose, a model, but it doesn't have the mythology, the actual subject matter around it to dignify it.
Looks like it inspired an awful lot of the more refined men's magazines as far as the pose is concerned.
Well, it's very like a Playboy.
It is incredibly
open up, isn't it? Let's have a look at another one now.
This is really your kind of subject, I suspect, George, isn't it? We keep seeing these.
It's an interesting subject to look at for once because of the extraordinary way the Victorians were able to double think on it. They were able to look at very sexy pictures, and it was a society which still put frills around the bottom of piano legs, and because it was meant to happen in ancient Greece or whatever, or Rome, ladies could go along with their husbands and look at it.
But they are in extraordinary good taste, you know, they are so tasteful.
And they're terrifically learned too. I think that's particularly one of the things about Albert Hadamar that made his reputation so much, is that they're so archaeologically correct.
Yeah.
He researched his pictures tremendously to get all the architectural details, for example, the accessories correct.
There's another artist working at about this time called Albert Moore, who I believe was a friend of
Well, we can
Whistler.
even see him as you speak.
Ah.
As you speak, we can see an Albert Moore.
Well, Albert Moore...
There he is. Albert Moore, for me, is the best, because Albert Moore is much more concerned with colour as such. I mean, his colour harmonies are very remarkable. His design is remarkable in an almost abstract way. The shapes between the figures are very important and so on. This one, I may say, I can never look at without smiling because it's also from the Walker Art Gallery, Liverpool, and is known in Liverpool as crossing the Mersey in the ferry. As you can see.
The view of the water through...
And they always say, oh, have you seen that picture crossing the Mersey in a ferry? But there they are.
Well, I was thinking just now that we were praising Stubbs for his knowledge, but we can't really praise Albert Hadamar and Lord Leighton for their knowledge.
That's a very good point.
Because whereas Stubbs is enlivening, theirs seems to me to be totally deadening. I mean, you look at these things and they're like bad historical novels, you know. One feels they're written like bad novels are written by people giving themselves a turn on. You can have a sex scene set in the 17th century.
Yes.
And there's a kind of, what you were saying earlier, there's kind of hypocrisy about it. You can set all this stuff centuries back and give yourself a turn on. And I'm sure they were, in a way.
That's what they did, exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's how they got round sex in Victorian galleries. Now, Joanna, you were in charge of a gallery in Leighton House containing many works of this nature. Are you in opposition to what Paul said, or would you like to limit it a bit, or to speak out in defence of this kind of art?
I think I would probably limit what he says. I quite understand what he means in terms of its static quality and the fact that it seems to have very little passion to it. But on the other hand, Leighton was a very good painter indeed, and I think the comments that you were making about Albert Moore and his arrangements might equally apply to Leighton. He's been called a superb decorator, and although that may belittle him in some ways, I think it does sum up the way that he handled the arrangement of colour and the processional feel to some of his better pictures.
There we are. We'll look at the score. Maggie Steve's got 40. And with a slight advantage. And Frank Steve's got 25 without that same advantage. But still, Maggie's team won. And I'd like to thank Joanna Banham, Maggie, Paul Bailey, Anatole Orient, Frank and Nick Treadwell for contributing. And from them, and from me, and indeed from Gallery. Bye now.